Well, it's a rainy day, so I figured I'd take some time and quit working on the house and show you guys what the situation is with the Sentry turrets.
Just wanted to show you guys I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm not in a fancy lab, I'm just a dude, doesn't even have walls on his garage. This stuff is very achievable. If you're interested, get interested.
So 000 is a center of fire matches center of axis of rotation. What that means is this little airsoft toy here, when it mounts on this clamp, the center of fire aligns with the axis of rotation, thereby mitigating a bunch of recoil effects. So I love that about this design. Pretty much everything else I'm going to consider a learning experience. So let's start at the bottom and go over the features. Down here you have a solid steel welded case, very heavy, with a lot of the compute electronics in there, power supplies. The motor for the X-axis is in there. A sealed bearing, which is nice. It's a commercial off-the-shelf part. Some simple weldment here. Then you have a casting. You have AR500 steel, which you can vary the thickness of that AR500 to give you different armor ratings for the turret. This back L-shaped bracket is one solid aluminum casting. It was the first casting I ever designed. There are more off-the-shelf bearings here and here. And then the airsoft or your firearm are mounted on this spring-loaded device. Oh, it is really stiff. But I found out, one of the things I learned is you don't need to do this. It really doesn't help anything. In fact, it only kind of hurts you. So you can service the bearings here. What else do we have? The compute module was down here, but I did have some secondary compute up in the upper portion. You can still see a little camera in there and the lights. And I really agonized over what to put in this box. It's a custom aluminum enclosure with the AR500 cover once again. And with just one connector for an accessory and one I kind of patched up there. So basically, the best way to talk about this thing is to take the next step from turret 000 to turret 100, which is this guy. And this change from step 0 to step 1 really highlights a lot of the learnings. So the first thing I learned is that you don't really have to have your center of fire aligned with your center of rotation. There's more recoil, but it's pretty insignificant compared to the advantages of these turrets. And the big advantage of a turret is they take a lot less power than a person. And they can get shot, you can repair them. I mean, it's just so obvious that this is the future of the Second Amendment for the free men of the West. Running outside with your shotgun every time you hear a bump in the night is old news. With the drones and armed robots that our government and foreign governments are bringing into this country, we need this stuff. So, sorry, just a little sidetrack there, but how this Sentry works is you have a one axis of rotation here, and the base for this turret is right over here. I'm using it to support the next gen. So you would grab this with a base clamp, and it spins left, right. Now it's just sitting on blocks. And then the y-axis move in tandem. You can have an AR mounted on either side of this guy, so it can have two different, shotgun, pistol, whatever you want on there. And then there's tons of these pick rail mounting points all over this thing. And the big advancement here was the idea, instead of making a custom purpose camera and lighting system, break it up into functions and make them USB powered. So this camera can be mounted on here. You could also mount a thermal camera. And they both have USB extensions, and in the back of this thing are a bunch of big power outlets for DC power, and then a bunch of USB connection points. So each of these is a USB connection. Each of these is a power port. Lots of threads on there. So you have power ports, USB, a lot of options. Really, the big advancement on this thing was realizing that these turrets are the new AR-15s, and you will be adding a ton of accessories to it. So don't try and corner your customer into this camera, this compute. Give them 1,000 options. Give them lights, camera, actions, lasers, radars, lidars. They can mount anything they want on this, and it's just a very versatile little box that you put out in your yard that goes up, down, left, right. Everything after that is up to you. Other advancements. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here because there's been a lot to learn. Other advancements in this had some problems with its power, basically the torque, and so it was a little slower because you have to fit a motor and a drivetrain and a anti-backlash system all into this little tiny space, and all your cables have to route up and through there, and all the cameras, and it's just full of wires and crap, and it's just a lot to deal with inside of there. So this one allowed for more volume inside, better cooling system, better drivetrains. It's just overall a much more functional, reliable unit, with the downside that the center of fire is not on the 0 point. So the recoil, you have to wait a half a second between each shot. But the big point here is that I think eventually these things are going to be so bloody accurate and fast, inhumanly fast, that you're going to be shooting down drones faster than your mind can process. When these things see something that they're shooting down, it's not even going to be visually recognizable to us what these turrets and the learning modules inside of them are computing as they're doing these visual image recognition processing algorithms. It'll just be like a seizure to us, but they'll be processing, detecting, running multiple algorithms, trying to figure that stuff out. Another big advantage of this is you can put a lot more compute inside of this, because I spent a little more time on the cooling system, where this was just big box with a fan. In terms of accuracy, these were about the same. They have the same gear ratios in them. This one actually had some slightly larger stepper motors, so it was faster. This one's worse on recoil. This one is a little bit lighter than this because the solid steel base was heavy. What else do we have? Oh, and this one just a lot more accessories. So from here, the next step I took, was to Turret 101, which is everything about this, just better. It's just everything as I was making this, I wanted it. I wanted bigger motors. So this has motors that are 6 times as powerful. It's not assembled right now. In fact, I just got the casting back from the casting house that's helping me out. So this is the rear cover right now. The back of it is a bloody mess. So it's just kind of my process in developing these. So I'll give you a little side-by-side. You can see that this is just bigger, faster, smarter, stronger. One other benefit to this turret is that these little modular cameras have a bunch of cables coming back out the back, which make these units susceptible to fragmentation, spalling, mice, all that stuff. So I don't have an example here, but I essentially designed a pick rail system that has a USB connector inside of it. It's not populated here. I don't have it anywhere, but yeah, it essentially just really cleans up your cable design, because your camera would mount on here and the cable would make the connection along with the pick rail. So you get a really robust connection. And again, lots of connection points. Well, a bunch of connection points on the back. Also looking at, movable solar panels for the back, and then drone landing pads where this thing can have a little arm that comes off the back of these. And as the drone's landing, the turret can reach out and just grab the drone. The drone will be hardwired to the turret so it can go up and provide aerial support. We're getting a little wind. Alright, so that is turret 101. And I almost forgot to mention that you can bolt armor onto these things. I've done some armor testing. The armor bolts on there. There's a bunch of different thicknesses and options you can use. I don't know how I forgot to mention that, but just a little extra for you. I'm going to continue developing this because I freaking love it. I love putting 2 different firearms on it. I love all the options, but it's just going to take some time because you're working with castings and machining and just a lot to do here, but this is the tank. I love this thing. I think this format is going to be a classic style due to its simplicity and robustness. So for many decades to come, we're going to see personal sentry guns that look like this. So moving forward, I switched directions. I came back around to the idea of building something with the center of fire, but much smaller, much lighter. And this came in light of the Ukraine war. I was working for a company that was building drones that got sent over there, and they were just like, quit making them so expensive. We want dirt cheap. And that's where I was like, okay, we don't want the thousands of dollar turrets. We want hundreds of dollar turrets. And so this little guy has a bill of material of $1,400. I don't own a scale. I just look at myself and decide if I'm getting fat or not. Same with these turrets. I just kind of look at them and go, oh yeah, I would backpack with that. That is not bad. I really love this little guy. The compute module here can be greatly downsized. It's just kind of a big box with a lot of wires. But if some professional design work, which is my expertise, is PCB design, electronics design, you could really compact this down. So I am saying that with some authority and some background. So let me give you a quick look at this guy. It's really simple. There's 2 motors and 2 sets of pick rail clamps. So this would mount to, if you want to screw a pick rail to a tree, you can then quick clamp that on there and then put your rifle right here. And I've tested this with like little 300 blackout pistols, stuff like that. It seems to work. So this is definitely more of a lightweight solution. You're not going to put your 308 on here. You want to put it on one of these guys or this big boy. One downside to this is the accuracy of these 3 models. There's a difference between accuracy and precision on these. So with the encoders I chose, you can go to about 1.14 MOA, but they're actually capable of higher precision. You just can't sense it. So I'll link to another video. You can check out the precision of these. This one is less precise. These are less precise motors. You actually only get about a half MOA adjustment on this thing. So you're not going to be shooting out to long ranges with this. This is more of a spotting, light defense sort of sentry that you might hike up to the top of a mountain to spot drones, or maybe you don't even put a gun on it. Maybe you just strap a camera, a thermal camera on there, and that's your little sentry. So this thing costs about $1,400 for the bill of materials, because each of these motors costs about $300. They have an integrated gearbox and driver. And I said, hey, what if I downsize that? So this was turret 103 here. So 103. My plan is to make a kit and a full product that you could buy from me in the future. I really love this thing. I just need a little more time to work on it. So that is 103-02 is a revision on it. Little less accurate, lighter weight, can handle less recoil, but man, is it cool. So from there I said, let's make it cheaper and smaller. So these are like motors from a windshield wiper in a car. You can get them for about 33 bucks instead of $300. The only thing is it's not as accurate. So I added this little encoder housing on here, and if you add some anti-backlash springs like these, this little turret is going to be quite capable. The electronics box, again, is big. It has the motor drivers in it, whereas here the motor drivers are included in the motor. You can see the motor drivers have heat sinks sticking out, got a lot of bulky cables. But if you imagine this guy with a slimmed down electronics housing, it's not something you want to backpack with. It weighs 15 pounds? I don't know. It weighs, oh man, like 5 half-empty chocolate milks, maybe 10. This weighs like a full half gallon of milk. Welcome to America, motherfuckers. We got gun turrets and we measure things in chocolate milk. So anyways, this is number turret, what is this? 104. And finally that leads us to 105. And 105 and whatever one that was there on the end, 101, are my... Man, God, I love them all. I can't pick a favorite. But in terms of practically what I'm going to keep developing, I'm going to keep developing this, working towards getting kits for you guys. You can actually get free plans for this on my website if you like this one. I don't like it that much, but it is cheap. And with a little work, it could be pretty good. So anyways, this one will be continuing. I will be continuing development. 101 I'll be continuing development, and in the immediate future I will be working on plans for 105. So 105 is the same idea as this guy. It's just these motor units and gearboxes only cost about $110, I found. So you kind of go $300, $33, $110, but this thing can handle some really nice 308 recoil. It's really stiff and heavy duty. I mean, it's built out of like 3/8 and 1/2 inch thick steel. The only like steel plate on here are either little flat spacers or big flat like L-shaped bracket. So there's no custom castings. There's no complex. Well, these aren't complex castings, but there's a lot of them. You know, there's a lot of custom parts on these, whereas this is like big sheet of metal, L-shape. All of the additional pieces here are either 3D printed. Move my lamp here. Either 3D printed or flat sheet metal. It's pretty simple. So I love this thing for a lot of reasons. It continues to draw on the concept of using pick rail mounted cameras. So, oops. So you can, you know, swap that camera out for this one or whatever you want. Now let's see. Swing this guy around. Where this guy is going is I want to... All the electronics are like in an old ammo can, and there's some stepper motor housings just sitting outside here. So what I really want to do is to get you guys plans to build this, which is okay. We don't need that part. A lot of these things are like goofy on here, but it'll be essentially like a little drone where you have to do some soldering, you have to do some 3D printing, but you're going to get a really nice unit in the end. Once I have those plans done, my goal is to actually use my profession and to take these 2 stepper drivers and all these electronics and smush them into a nice metal housing that sits back behind here. So now we have 2 boxes and there would just be 1 box sitting there. So there'd be some custom electronics that you could buy on my site. You just have a much cleaner, simpler design. Some of the other features I really like about this thing is that you can finally do something that everyone's been asking for. I'm going to pause the video and show you guys. Okay, so a big thing you guys have been asking for is belt fed. I'm not going to toy around with building one of those, though I could 3D print one and put an electric motor on it. I'm not going to do that. But what you can do, God, it's heavy, is because of the simplicity and the robustness of this thing, is you could make a little bracket that bolts on right here to these two bolts in the back. So this stick would be sticking out with some other little hands on it, and you'll be able to mount an ammo can right here, and now you've got something that looks like this with motor, belt fed, big ass ammo can. This thing is going to be awesome. Bill of materials is only about $1,500. So I think this short term is going to come with some, I'll just call them ugly plans, wires and crappy little 3D printed stuff on it. But with some work, with some development, we'll be able to shrink that down, make this a more professional assembly. And I think this guy's really going to rock. So summary is, I'm going to continue. You can get this one for free plans on my site. This one I will continue development of this guy, and continue development of the big guy. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I know this has been a confusing channel for the last couple years, as you guys don't know what I'm working on, so I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to put everything together in one spot and just show you guys, boom, here it all is, here's the plan. And yeah, let's just keep this stuff going. I'm so grateful that I have the freedom to work on this stuff. And I'm grateful for my ancestors who fought for thousands of years for the principles that Western civilization is built on, of independence, individual freedoms, individual liberties, the concept that your government should be more afraid of you than you are of them. And I'm thankful that I get to be a small part of that puzzle that all of my ancestors have fought for thousands of years. Our culture is the algorithm we pass on to our children. It is a very sensitive and important thing, our culture. And sometimes your culture needs a little help. We're warriors, we're fighters. These are our tools. And we need to keep a society that is free for the individual, where safety is not more important than liberty. Because these things aren't safe. This is dangerous stuff. But, we need this with the tools, the AI, the robot dogs that our government has. Pretty soon it'll just be politicians sending dogs after us. Robot dogs, robot cops, drones. It doesn't have to be a scary world. We just got to stay ahead of the curve. So I'm thankful all of you are brave enough to watch this channel and comment, because who knows what the future holds. Anyways, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm glad I got a rainy day so I could take some time to do this, and stay tuned for some plans on this, guys.